Okay, welcome to the show. Welcome to episode 650 of BD4. I'm your host, RJ Carbone, and we are doing a Yankees episode. Probably a quick Yankees episode. I really don't have much notes. I have a couple things written down here on this notepad, and I have a few things on the screen, but it's not much. There's not much detail for the most part. This episode, I'm just going to be winging some things just before the season starts up this week. Just giving my final thoughts on everything. So that's what we'll be doing here for about 20 minutes or so in episode 650 of the podcast. The Yanks open up on Thursday, right here. It's baseball week. Baseball starts this week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We just have to get through those 3 days. As you are listening to this, it is most likely Monday morning, the earliest. If I can get this out Sunday night, as I'm recording this, it's Sunday night, then that will be great. But yes, welcome to the show. So I figured, again, just talk about the our final thoughts before we get into the season here. Opening day Thursday. So let's talk about the Yankees. Let's get to it, episode 650. Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, RJ Carbone. You are listening to BD4, where there's no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. We also do MMA. Yanks every series, Knicks every game, MMA on occasion. Let's get to it.
Anthony for three. That one goes down, and the game is tied.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
The Yankees are champions of baseball.
Shaking and baking right here on the neophyte.
U.S. trying to close the show. She was doing a great job of feeding. That is over.
Coming up, so Katie, don't you regret not coming to the net? Don't you regret not coming to the net?
Game over. World Series over. Yankees win. The Yankees win.
All right. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome to episode 650 of BD4. I'm your host, RJ Carbone. Thank you for stopping by. Thanks for listening to this podcast. If you're over on YouTube, thank you for stopping by over there. Yeah, doing a little Yankees. The season starts up on Thursday. So I figured we get our final thoughts here on their offseason, on how camp has gone. Camp wraps up tomorrow. They have one more spring training game against the Mets. The Yankees had a split squad game today where they played the Pirates. And then obviously they had the Mexico City game, which a lot went down. I had it on my laptop, but I was walking around upstairs most of the time while it was on. It was background noise. But I saw some of it, and Mariano Rivera threw out the first pitch. That was cool. Trevor Bauer was pitching for Mexico City, and he tossed 3 scoreless. So I don't know if that's enough to erase the baggage that he's apparently going to come with, but I would like him. I'm hoping the Yankees saw that, and they're like, you know what? Let's make a last-minute deal here. Yeah, I mean, listen, we could start there. We could start with this rotation because there's been a little bit of news recently where the Yankees are apparently or reportedly trying to get back into the conversation regarding Jordan Montgomery. Montgomery has obviously been with the Yankees before. He was traded in that Harrison Bader deal to St. Louis, which initially it looked good for the Yankees. When Bader returned to the field, he had some good moments. Obviously, he had the big October a couple years ago. That was kind of his big Yankee moment. And then outside of that, it wasn't really much. So you could say it was more a win for St. Louis, and obviously it's a win for Texas. It was a win for Jordan Montgomery. He got his World Series championship, and he's looking to get some money. I don't know if Boris is going to get him a ton of money. Boris has costed his clients a whole lot of money this spring. But, if you told me back in, November, December that the Yankees were looking at Jordan Montgomery as their big money acquisition in the rotation, I would have probably been pissed off. Because I'm still under the belief that their rotation is certainly not good enough to win a World Series without a big acquisition. I was all in on them going after Yoshi Yamamoto. Obviously, the Dodgers paid the extra $26 million. I was very vocal about wanting the Yankees to trade for Corbin Burns. Turns out their division foes who won the East last year traded for him in a prospect package the Yankees probably could have made. I was a big proponent of what the fuck's his name? Dylan Cease. That was like the guy I wanted. As soon as the Yamamoto thing didn't work out, I was like, let's go get Cease because I really believe in his upside. It turns out the San Diego Padres, which is very interesting, made a deal for him in a package that the Yankees probably could have put together. And then I kind of pivoted to, let's go get the 2-time Cy Young winner coming off a Cy Young season, put him next to, Garrett Cole obviously hurt right now, but let's put him at the top of our rotation. Let's go get Blake Snell and pay up because you're the Yankees and you shouldn't have to worry about tax. Turns out the Yankees worried about tax, and Blake Snell signed with the Giants. Now, the Yankees did offer Snell $150 a month or two. I forget. It was a while ago. They offered him $150 million. Obviously, Snell ended up signing with San Francisco for $60 million on a 2-year deal with the second year not guaranteed because of the opt-out. So that, okay, fine. But at the same time, the Yankees, for a brief moment there, were back in on Snell, and they didn't want to blow past the $30 million annual value. And that's, again, where I disagree. I would have blown past it because you have loads of money, and I don't care how much of a Yankees fan I sound like. You have money. You're billionaires. You're going to make money a ton this season with a guy named Juan Soto on your team. You could have afforded that. A 2-year, $60 million deal with an opt-out. So I was very disappointed with the rotation. With what Cashman did regarding the rotation this winter. The Stroman deal is fine. That's a good deal by itself, but it's hard to sell me that that's the big rotation acquisition because for this team to win a World Series, I would rather not bank on so much hope and bank on upside and the ceiling of the rotation. I would rather feel more safe and be like, all right, we have a guy who's won a 2-time Cy Young. All right, we have this big-time prospect who a lot of scouts believe in. All right, we have Dylan Cease, who's placed top 3 in Cy Young just a couple of seasons ago. We have, I would rather have more assurance. We have Corbin Burns, who's been a perennial ace. And that's kind of where I am frustrated with Cashman's offseason. Now, that all said, I think Stroman will do great here. I think he's going to pitch the best that he's ever pitched in his career. I really do. I guess you can call that my hot take. And I also think that Clark Schmidt is an adequate pitcher in the back end of that rotation. But especially now with the Garrett Cole news, you would have hoped the Yankees jumped on a top flight starting pitcher. So hopefully they can figure something out with Jordan Montgomery. I don't expect anything there or the Trevor Bauer stuff. I don't think they're ever going to sign him, although I'm open to it. It seems like the Yankees are going into the season with this current rotation that holds a lot of question marks. Carlos Rodon is the key to the rotation, especially now that Garrett Cole is out. The Yankees really need Carlos Rodon to step up. How is he going to look in year 2 in the Bronx? Is he healthy? It looks like he got through camp healthy. He had some ups and downs with his starts, but most importantly, he got through it healthy. I don't care about spring training production, non-production. I just care about health. He was throwing 96 consistently. What I'm looking at is he's trying to mix in more pitches, add to that pitch mix. He's went to the curveball a little bit more. He's went to the changeup a little bit more. He's flashed that cutter. The cutter is a pitch he's completely added in. So, just give hitters different looks, pitches going in different directions, which is why I think that changeup is going to be a big pitch for him. That's what I'm looking at. That's what I looked at in the spring. And if Carlos Rodon can come into the season healthy, in a better state of mind, he looks to be in better physical shape, then we'll see. I'm all for it. I'm really pulling for this guy, and I hope that he can be a low 3s ERA, number 1, number 2 caliber pitcher again, like he was with San Francisco. So we'll see on that front. Garrett Cole, we've had a couple episodes, maybe 1 or 2, talking about that injury. Yeah, listen, it's going to be a couple months, maybe a little bit more, until we get Garrett Cole. I have him penciled in for late July after All-Star break because I like to lean on the conservative side of things. Maybe it is only 2 months, but I think I think the Yankees are going to be careful. This is a guy they've invested a lot of money and years into, and they need him for the long stretch. So my hope is that they make sure he's 100% healthy. They don't rush him back, and they can get him back with enough time so that he's in mid-season form for October ball, and enough time to stretch out. And I'm hoping, mid to late July is enough for him to get, 15-ish starts in. He'll probably be on somewhat of an innings limit until he's ready to fully go. But I think the Yankees can get by 2 months, 2.5 months. You're really pushing it though if you do talk about August as a return date. I really think they're gonna have to hit a lot to get by. Now the good thing is they have a lineup to hit. We'll get to the lineup in a second, but they have to hit because you still have, like I said, question marks in Carlos Rodon, in what's his name, in Marcus Stroman. You don't know what you're getting in Nestor Cortes, who's also coming off an injury. There's concern. Is he done as an elite pitcher? Can he just be an effective middle to back end guy, give you 5 and fly? I don't know. Is the rotator cuff going to bother him? Has the league figured him out? The creative arm angles and the movement on his pitches and going high with the fastball. He likes to use the cutter. We'll see. We'll see. And then the Yankees announced yesterday, I believe it was yesterday, that one of their prospects, Luis Gil, will be the 5th starter. So, for a little bit in camp, it was question on if it was going to be Clayton Beeter. He impressed a lot of Yankees fans. If it was going to be Will Warren. If it was going to be Luke Weaver. And I think a lot of us were hoping that was the last guy they would look at. And then will it be Luis Gil was a question. And it ends up that Luis Gil had such a fantastic camp and he flashed such fantastic stuff that the Yankees will be going with him to start the season at the 5th spot in the rotation. So Luis Hill is a guy I very much like. I think he's a great pitcher. I liked what I saw from him a couple years ago before the Tommy John. Now, since he's coming back from Tommy John, they're going to put an innings limit on him. Boone was talking to John Boy, and he said that he's not going to exceed 100 to 150 this year. That will be the innings limit. So my thought process is he'll give them some starts. He'll be a 4 or 5 inning guy, as the number 5, and they'll probably have some other guys get some spot starts too, and eventually Luis Hill will probably move back to the to the bullpen, which I think is long term the best spot for Luis Hill. He's just because of the way pitchers are today, they're so delicate, and especially talking about guys who throw 100 plus miles an hour, their arms eventually fall off. Now, Hill did have the surgery already, but doesn't mean he can't get hurt again. I think his stuff will play up in the pen. I think not only will it help him be healthy, but I think his repertoire will really, really benefit coming out of the bullpen. And this is a guy who throws 100 miles an hour. He's got a filthy changeup that he's flashed a little more this spring, and it looks better. So with the command issues, I think it's probably best that he is a guy who's going to be a relief pitcher. But I really like the idea of them going with him out the gate here as the number 5. It's a good vote of confidence for the kid, and let's see what he can do with it. Right, his first outing will most likely be against the Arizona Diamondbacks, the second series of the season on the road. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, they're going to have to rely on their bats and their bullpen. The bullpen is the strength of this Yankees team year in and year out. While they've had some years where the lineup hasn't produced much offense, while they've had some years where the rotation was mediocre to worse, one constant has been the Yankee bullpen just consistently being solid. You know, going back to like the last 10 fucking years, it's been a damn solid bullpen. Especially under Matt Blake. It's been elite in the Matt Blake seasons. The Yankees are very good at finding journeyman relievers, and you got to credit Cashman for that. And Matt Blake is very good at turning him into a top end of the bullpen pitcher, you know, so they've done that with plenty of guys over the years, and I think their bullpen, although it's going to be overworked at times because of the way this rotation has worked, it's going to figure shit out, and they always just get shit done at the end of the day. So the Yankees are relying on their pen and their lineup, and I think their lineup's going to hit, man. I know they had a terrible offense last season, but they're also bringing back completely different names. You're not going to have Isaiah Kiner-Falefa getting at-bats. You're not going to have, Willie Calhoun. Who else do I have written down here? Fucking Jake Bowers, Billy McKinney. Obviously, Donaldson and Hicks are gone. You're not going to have those guys getting consistent any at-bats because they're all gone. Instead, the Yankees went out there and they got some left-handed hitters. They added some contact, and they're going youth at the catching position too. You're expecting Austin Wells to have some type of role on the team. So I like the lefty-righty balance. That's probably the one thing that I'm most excited for, beyond any specific player. It's just the fact that the Yankees finally have a fucking lineup where they can go righty-lefty, righty-lefty again. That's been a staple. That's been a staple of every Yankees World Series winning lineup, is having a lefty-righty balance. You go back to the 90s Yankees. You go back to the early 2000s Yankees. You go back to the Yankees in 2009. Every good Yankees team has a lefty-righty balance. Shit, go to 2017. Like, I know that year kind of gets over-glorified because we didn't win shit at the end of the day, but it's also the furthest we've gone since we've had Judge. So that's, that team had Gardner. That team had Gregorius, Bird, Hicks, Headley when they were good. Ellsbury. Like, they had a lot of lefties in switch hitting. Every Yankees team that has success has that balance. And the fact that the Yankees can actually go and alternate righty-lefty now is what makes me very confident. Now, obviously, they're already dealing with some injuries. Jason Dominguez probably won't return until June, July-ish. You lost DJ LeMahieu for opening day. Most likely he'll be out, for the first couple of series with the foot that he probably should have got surgery on. But even then, you still have a potent lineup. And I think you go around the diamond. Catcher, I'm hoping that they can give Austin Wells the majority of the reps. I have a feeling that they're going to favor Trevino out the gate just because of the experience. He works well with the pitching staff. But I really, really want them to prioritize the young lefty they have in Austin Wells. I think he's got a ton of potential. He's obviously got the pop where he can hit you 20-plus homers in Yankee Stadium. But he's got a hit tool. He's got a very good recognition of the strike zone. And this is a kid that has worked his ass off, and everything you're hearing about his defense has been positive. He really looked good behind the plate in September last year, and throughout camp, he looked pretty fine too. Now, the arm, it's not the strongest arm, but he's done well laterally, going side to side, blocking pitches, framing, and he's been calling good games. So I'm intrigued with Austin Wells, and I would love for him to get the majority of the reps at catcher at some point. 60-40, whether that be platoon lefty-righty. I would like for Austin Wells to be the primary catcher. First base, Anthony Rizzo apparently looks very healthy now in spring. He had some good games. That's still a question mark for me. He is in a walk year, kind of with the option. So we'll see what happens there. Excuse me. You go over to second base. Gleyber Torres in a walk year. Was the Yankees' best hitter last year when Aaron Judge went down. He's going to want some money this year. I don't know if the Yankees are going to pay him. Regardless, he's probably going to be motivated to have himself a good season. You go to shortstop, Anthony Volpe, coming off a 2020 season with a Gold Glove. Obviously, you want some changes there. In camp, you heard that he revamped his swing, his approach. It's a much more level swing. You're hoping that he can keep those consistent mechanics, because an Anthony Volpe with a level swing means nothing but good things. It means a higher on-base percentage, a higher batting average, maybe a couple less home runs, but a lot more hits, singles and doubles and triples. Focus on hitting the ball. Focus on contact. And if that means hitting a ground ball to the left side of the infield, at times, so be it, because you've got the speed. You've got the speed to beat a grounder to third out. So I think Anthony Volpe will have a better season if he hones in on his mechanics and he masters that new swing that we've been seeing this camp. Third base, DJ LeMahieu, again, out for opening day and then some. It seems like it's going to be Oswaldo Cabrera that is in the opening day lineup because Peraza is injured right now. Oswaldo is an interesting character, man. He obviously came up a couple years ago as a rookie, was really electric, and just gave the Yankees fans something to root for. He was exciting, played the outfield, made some nice catches, and the bat was impressive too. He had some big home runs, the playoff home run. I really liked what I saw, and then last season comes, the bat was just dead. Outside of July, August, he was very bad at the plate in every other month. So bad to where he's now trying to... You're hearing that he's trying to go lefty more. even if it means going lefty on lefty. He's not going to switch hit all the time, which is interesting to me. But I think the main focus has to be for him, unlike with Anthony Volpe, he was so successful 2 years ago, Oswaldo, because he elevated the ball. His swing had that little bit of an uppercut to it. Last season, his swing path was a lot more level, and it led to a lot more ground balls, and he wasn't hitting the ball as hard as he was. So I think for him, he's got to focus on getting that swing back, and maybe you get more production from Oswaldo. Maybe you get a 700 to 750 OPS guy. Remember, this is a utility player who's not expected to be a starter, but if he hits enough, and the DJ thing remains an issue, which it very well could, maybe he's your new third baseman for the meantime until Peraza gets back, but I don't even think they have a plan for him. In the outfield, obviously you've got Juan Soto, your big middle-of-the-order lefty bat who's going to get on base a ton, who's going to hit you 35, give or take, home runs. He's going to protect Aaron Judge. Judge will protect him depending on where they bat them each day. Judge, you're just hoping he stays healthy. Hopefully we put this oblique thing or abdomen thing that he was dealing with again this spring and the past. We'll see if it aggravates him. But if he's healthy, obviously that speaks for itself. Do I worry about him at center field? Yeah. Which is why I think the Yankees have slowly got him some reps at first base, but they also had him, I think, in left field the other night. So they're trying to get him off his feet or covering less ground as much as they can. He'll be getting a lot of DH days this year too, I'm sure. Because I'm sure Stanton will have days where they completely sit him because of his age and how he's so delicate. Stanton's obviously in much better physical shape. He had a hell of a spring. He had the 3 home run game the other day where each of them were like 400 plus, 450 plus. So, grand slam in that game. We'll see. But if I was to guess and say the opening day lineup, well, let's do what I would do. Let's do what I would do on opening day. If I'm Aaron Boone and I got the pencil in my hand and the lineup card in front of me, with the injuries the Yankees now have, I think I'm going Gleyber Torres leading off at second base. Then I'm going to the lefty Juan Soto batting in the 2-hole, who's going to be in right field. Aaron Judge batting third. In center, Anthony Rizzo will be cleanup at first base. Giancarlo Stanton will be DHing in the 5-hole. Alex Verdugo, I'll pencil him into the 6-hole in left field. Oswaldo Cabrera will be playing third base at 7. Hitting 8th, I'm going to have Austin Wells because I want Volpe to be that secondary leadoff hitter, batting 9th. So there you go. There's your righty-lefty balance right there. It goes, let's see, from 1 to 9, righty, lefty, righty, lefty, righty, lefty, switch, lefty, righty. There you fucking go. That's huge. And then you got Dominguez coming back midseason, hopefully. I'm very excited about him, by the way. Super excited about the Martian. What else do I have down here? Yeah. So the lineup's going to have to hit. And I think it will. I think this lineup can produce a top 7 offense again. I think that's a very reasonable expectation. How will the Yankees fare? Relying on their bats and their pen until Cole gets back? I think in the AL East, yes, it's very tough. But the entire American League isn't just the AL East. You have the entire American League Central to play too. That's a free division. It really fucking is. And I think you're going to face a lot of bad teams. So I think the Yankees will hit just enough and they'll get by pitching to where they'll remain a good competitive team. Good enough to where I think they'll make a run at a wild card this year. I think the 3rd wild card spot is going to be their best friend this year. They're going to be thankful for Rob Manfred adding in that 3rd spot. because they might just slide in this year. Maybe a little bit better, but it's all going to depend on if Garrett Cole gets back, when he gets back, how good he looks when he gets back. So, but I think the lineup's going to hit. I think the postseason, I've been a big critic on this lineup producing or not producing in the playoffs. Listen, to just shoot it straight, it's going to come down to Aaron Judge. If Aaron Judge is hitting, the lineup's going to hit. Because not because this false narrative that they need him, that they're going to be so terrible without him, because I believe they have enough potential now to hit around him, but because he's so impactful that he can change a game with one or two swings. So, talk a little more when we return from our first break here on episode 650 of BD4. Stay with us.
Hey there, thanks for listening in so far. If you enjoy this episode, please give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. And if you're on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks so much.
Yeah, I knew that would happen. We are blowing past the 20-minute mark. Yeah, I think the biggest question marks regarding the lineup outside of Aaron Judge's health is the production you're getting from your veterans. Anthony Rizzo, DJ LeMahieu, Giancarlo Stanton, Jose Trevino, right? I'm not expecting much out of Jose Trevino, and you have Austin Wells for insurance, and hopefully he's, again, more than just that. DJ LeMahieu, I think, as much as it sucks to say, is beyond washed up at this point. I don't think you're getting shit from him. I think he's too old. He's not had a productive season since the fake COVID season. He's been banged up forever now with the same one injury. I think he's toast. I think less is better with DJ. But I really thought the Yankees should have addressed third base. And then Anthony Rizzo, man, it's hard because he was having such a good year. Some would say a career year before the Tatis collision. And then he's playing with a concussion. And it's like, no shit, he had the worst stretch of his career where he didn't homer for 2 fucking months. But, he's also older, and, its numbers are what they are at the end of the day, and you're hoping that he can bounce back. If there's anybody of the veterans I expect to bounce back, Rizzo's probably the one. But if you can get 1 or 2 of those guys just being adequate, and not a black hole, I think everybody else will hit, and then Judge and Soto will carry you home. I think the Yankees have plenty in this lineup to where you don't have to rely on DJ and Stanton anymore like you did. That's not as important as it was. And then, your youths, Wells and Volpe. Again, maybe you can get some production there. So I think the Yankees will hit, is what I'm saying. And I think that's going to be the identity of this team, their pen and their bats. They're probably going to have to make a deadline trade regardless of what happens with Cole, because their rotation was in desperate need of help before they lost Cole. That's going to depict their playoff success, what they do at the deadline with this rotation, in my opinion. So I think that's it, folks. I think we just covered everything we needed to. Let me see if I have anything written down here. No, we talked Volpe. We talked Luis Gil for a little bit. We talked the balance of the lineup. Montgomery. I think I'm excited for Thursday, put it that way. And Nestor Cortez doesn't exactly excite me. Scares me against a very right-handed lineup. But hey, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. It should be a fun year regardless. It'll be a year with a lot of adversity. It'll be a year with a lot of ups and downs, and we'll have our frustrations. We will be bitching about how the offense is probably not going to be producing in some spurts because that's what happens to every baseball lineup over the course of a 162. I'm sure we'll have injuries. I'm sure we'll have scheduled rest days that Aaron Boone sits Aaron Judge in, and that pisses us off. I'm sure he'll make some questionable pitching moves in the middle of games. I'm sure there will be a lot of extreme opinions, but at the end of the day, I think this Yankees team is good enough to win 88, 89 wins, 88, 89 games, and just slide into that wild card spot. And then you get to October, if they're healthy, I think this is a roster that has the upside to win a World Series. So we'll see. I'm not saying they will because I don't believe they will, but I think there's a chance. There's a better chance than a lot of teams, but a lot isn't all. We'll see. Let's get to our final breaks here, and then when we get back in a few minutes, we will wrap it up with our trivia. Stay with us here in BD4, episode 650.
You can follow us on social media as well. On Instagram, we're at BD4Pod and at Rob J. Carbone. On X, we're at BD4Pod and at RJCBD4. And on Facebook, we're BD4. If you're interested in our website, just go to www.bd4blog.com. You can subscribe to our blog on there right on the front page. Just like on the podcast, we cover Yankees, Knicks, and MMA. Also on our website are the links to the different platforms for the podcast. Thanks so much.
Studio 69 Productions is a podcast production agency created by Leo Rodriguez to allow content creators to market their podcast. It's an online platform that will market your podcast or any other project that you're working on. Get in touch with Leo Rodriguez from Studio 69 Productions. You can find Studio 69 Productions on Instagram at Studio69NJ. Studio 69 Productions, where dreams are heard and born.
Thanks for listening to BD4, where there is no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. We also do MMA, Yanks every series, Knicks every game, and MMA on occasion.
All right, welcome back to the show. Welcome back to episode 650 of BD4. I'm your host, RJ Carbone. And I think that's all we have to say. So as I said, let's wrap this up with our trivia question of the day. Okay, for this episode 650 of BD4, our trivia question: which former Yankees pitcher threw 2 complete games in the 1977 World Series versus the Dodgers? Which former Yankees pitcher threw 2 complete games in the 1977 World Series versus the Dodgers? So let me know the answer wherever you can reach me. If you get the answer correct, I'll give you a shout out in the next episode. One final time. Which former Yankees pitcher threw 2 complete games in the 1977 World Series versus the Dodgers? That's it, folks. That's all we got in this episode. I appreciate you all tuning in. Episode 650. The Yanks open up on Thursday. We'll see what happens, folks. The Astros are still a tough team. So I'm not expecting this to be a sweep. I'm not expecting it to be 3 out of 4. I think a split is probably the expectation here. Hopefully it's a little better, but we'll see. That's it, folks. Thank you. And I'll see you in the next show. Knicks Pistons. This episode was brought to you by Anchor.
Hey there! If you stayed the entire way through, we thank you immensely for it. We hope you enjoyed this podcast and that you come back for the next episode real soon. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, download these episodes, and share them with your friends as well. BD4 is a 5-star podcast simply because of you, and we'd like to keep it that way. Have a wonderful day. Go Yankees, and go Knicks!